Okay, beautiful. All right, so hello everybody. You are with The Real Share. This is my way of making sure that I stay connected to you. My girlfriend says, she goes, "You are such a woo and you are such an extrovert." So this is my solution in being an extrovert and really sharing this last year of the process that I went through in showing up for myself in love and not fear. I was diagnosed a year ago, April 15th on tax day with stage 4 breast cancer. And I have had to learn over the course of the year is how to show up in love, how to show up for my family, and really not take the situation um, at hand anything other than what could I do to be able to put together my support system and really reach out to my family and friends who introduced me to the team of doctors that I was able to put together. And I'm so excited to report back that not only am I doing well, I'm rocking it. And I wanted to start introducing you to my wellness team family members. And I hear some background over there, so I'm going to go ahead and ask. I hear myself actually talking, repeating. So if we can go ahead and mute that, that would be excellent. But I'm going to go ahead and get this party started. I've got an individual, Rose Tafoya, that I'm introducing, and she has worked with me on the California Women's Conference for the last decade. In fact, Rose gets introduced to events all the time that I come up with. 6 months ago, we decided that we were going to do something a little different. I am celebrating a 50th birthday, and we decided to go ahead and live stream out that birthday, similar to what we did with International Women's Day, where we went out to over 200 countries and broke the Guinness Book of World Record. And we are now going to do that in the same fashion, but it's going to be happening on May 2nd during Wellness Week, which will all be live streamed. And the ironic thing is that I went from doing a 40th birthday where I had Mark McGrath singing. It was an event that I had started 8 years prior, and it grew to north of 20,000 people. I had Mark McGrath from Sugar Ray singing Happy Birthday. And I thought, you know what? What a great way is to go ahead and do that this go around, but have it be live stream and connect the people that are around the planet that I know. And lo and behold, we now have a situation where that is one of the only ways that we can keep this connectivity up. So we might not be able to be physically together, but we absolutely can keep up this connectivity. And then talking about the real share. What is the real share? The real share is sharing what's working, what's possible without any judgment, without stigmas, without fear tactics. I shared with all of you that I was told in the early days of my diagnosis that one of the doctors had said, "You have 90 days to live." And I thought, okay, am I on candid camera? Is this is this really true? And and really got after it in making it part of my journey that we create these environments that are safe. And again, where we have no fear tactics and we're showing up in love for each other. There's nobody that I know better that does this than Rose Tafoya. And over the course of the 10 years, and Rose, I don't see you on here. So Connor, if you can help me out, I'm not seeing.
I see you. We're
Oh,
side by side.
okay. Yeah, I'm not actually seeing that, but I can see
Oh,
you right now popped up.
okay.
So I just want to bring up and set the stage for some of the challenges that we've gone through, one of which was the first year that I took on the conference back in 2010. I, uh, I took this conference on and I was working with a group of individuals that were doing sponsorships. And if you remember, we came up 17 days before the conference, we were 1.8 million in a deficit. And those 17 days, we refer to them as the 17 glorious days, but we were able to go ahead and raise 1.65 million in 17 days right into leading into the conference. So that was a feat in itself, and the conference ended up going off without a hitch, and it was awesome. But I just remember you, Rose, being there when I said, okay, I need to go into fundraising mode and take this piece on. The group that had been signed up to do the fundraising had come in with a total of $100,000 out of, and they had committed to 7 million. So it was a huge challenge. And I remember you looking at me and saying, okay, we've got this. You know, I will focus in with the team on delivering the speakers. That year we had over 200 speakers, and we had, and this still gets me, is we had over 18,000 individuals sign up to be a speaker for the conference. And I could just remember this is every time I go to you, I'd say, Rose, we have another person. And what I learned from that process was that people have information to share. People have facts to share, and they have this burning desire to make sure that they can take their situation, whatever it is, you know, through adversity, and then show up for others and help them to navigate through that situation. And you have just always, you've always just been there for me. I've cried to you many times. And I learned from Trish, who's also on this call listening in and is going to give us some feedback, but that crying is absolutely a good thing. And it actually is, it means that you're moving that ball forward. So Rose Tafoya, thank you for being here today and for being with me all these days. And I want to share with the group. So tell me, let's start with today and this coronavirus and what you're doing on the planet to help with the confusion that's out there and really help people feel safe.
Okay, I think for me, first of all, before I start, I just want to say one thing, which I don't think I've ever told you this, Michelle, that Mark McGrath, before I even knew you, before we started together, I got to meet him backstage up in Lake Tahoe, and he sang and dedicated a song to me out on the stage someday. And he gave me a poster and says, "You're my angel." And so when I think of that, I'm thinking that might be our song someday. When my life has passed me by, you were always there for me. And you're always here for me, and I'm here for you. And I'm just so happy that we can do this and empower others right now, you know, the best that we know how to do.
Well, and I can remember, I mean, this is months ago, and I called you up and I'm like, all right, Rose, you know, I'm coming into the big 50, you know, what do you think? And when I started telling you about this vision, you said to the whole team, I've worked with Michelle for over a decade now, and I've gotten really good at taking her vision and manifesting it and putting it into action.
Mm-hmm.
And I've gotten to the place where I just let you kind of go do your thing, and it comes back even way bigger and better than what I had ever imagined. And I had no idea that we would even be in a place where we're talking about really bringing the world together at a time when we absolutely need to be showing up in love for each other.
For sure. And I think that's you just hit it on the head. We're showing up. And I think what I'm doing is I'm showing up in a big way. I know I'm a leader, have always been a leader, and I've always supported and raised people up. I do that well. So this is no small feat in trying to keep people's spirits up during this challenge that we have. People have challenges, they have anxiety, they have fears. And so what I'm trying to do right now is just keep people ahead of the game with knowledge, because once we know something, the fear goes away. So my go-to line all day long is knowledge is power. and the right knowledge, not the knowledge that's not the correct figures or facts, but the real knowledge. So I've been spending the last few weeks really following this pandemic now and knowing where we're at with everything. And I've actually put together some trainings for employers to go in and teach the employers or and the employees and the staff and the workers to just calm down. Just let's get powerful together and let's learn what we can do together. So giving them tools and protocols and procedures and just being proactive, even for the owners, being proactive. What can we do 3 weeks ago? What can we do now so that we can be prepared for what's coming? And I think that's really it, is just keeping people aware. I was talking to someone last night, as a matter of fact, and I was just really amazed at how the facts that she was telling me that she believed in were really not true. And so I had to say, no, this is it. And that's because I have been following this and really following the facts. So that's what I'm able to give to people who want to know really what the facts are and what resources are out there for you to move forward. So, in a nutshell, there's many things that I've been doing. I am actually giving calls for people to call me, sign up and give me a 15-minute call. We'll talk about what is it that you need right now, what resource, what knowledge, what tools do you need to help you get through this, whether it be from parenting to business to deciding what you're going to do to shift and pivot. If you're out of work, what can you do right now to figure out how you're going to be bringing income into your household? That's, I think, one of the biggest fears that people have is, how am I going to survive? How am I going to pay my electricity bill, my mortgage? And so finding ways and things that you can do. And as a matter of fact, let me just give you an example. My cell phone bill is due today, and it's a pretty hefty cell phone bill. And because it's with my daughter and she's traveling, and I'm like, oh my gosh, if I could get some sort of relief on that or break it in half, that would help me in case, this month comes and the next month it just kind of helps. So
Well,
I
and,
actually
and just to
called.
add in fact, Rose, and you're good friends. I had a chance last night to talk to Scott Duffy, and we spent a few hours together on the phone, and we're going to be combining resources and helping one another. But
Mhm.
that was one of the things that he had said. He goes, what bills do you have? And he went through and started calling, and he goes, you'd be surprised at how many of those bills can be pushed forward for
Yes.
30-day period of time.
Yes.
And I love the response that you had. You said, Michelle, you made mention of Scott Duffy and that he was doing some really good work with
Hmm.
entrepreneurs and how to navigate through this. And that's what this is about, is taking information, taking the facts,
Hmm.
and then being able to share that information so that we can create a safe environment. And I go back to this mindset that I had when I got the diagnosis. There was so much confusion and miscommunication and chaos out there that I didn't dare go to the internet. I mean, by design, because
Right.
it was too overwhelming.
Hmm.
Instead, I pulled back and I started looking at, okay, who do I know that I view as, trusted advisors, people that love me, that are going to give me good information, that are not going to use fear tactics, and bring that information together. And so that's what this is about. I had
Hmm.
another individual scheduled to be on today, and thought, what, based on the governor's address for California, the first state,
Hmm.
to really have this lockdown, is went out last night. And so I thought, what, who better to be able to go ahead and have Rose on the phone. We've got Scott Duffy coming on Wednesday. We've got Dr. Matt, who's going to be on Tuesday. And so we've got different individuals that I trust. And so when I was
Hmm.
talking to my dad earlier, and I was just telling him, it's like, Dad, I don't have that same fear. And I've probably learned in the last year how to really manage that. Because think about it, when we go into fear and we're given a diagnosis, or in the case where we hear the entire world, is susceptible to this virus, our first reaction is to go into flight and fright. And that's the last thing that our bodies need. And how can we go ahead and make this internal pharmacy and to release, positive
Mhm.
toxins into our body and not have this flight and fright. And so that's
Right.
why I thought having you on the show, because you've done that for me, is just, it's like if I'm upset, it's like I'm going to call Rose. Rose, Rose will be like, it's okay. So what are some things that you're telling these companies that they can do to create a safe place? And the audience that you're talking to are mamas and papas. I mean, they're the
Mhm.
mama bears out there, they're the papas bears out there. I mean, we in essence have had an entire country go home
Right.
and stay home. I mean, and my whole family, which
Right.
you've lived with me, Rose, when we were doing the conference. Rose actually moved in for the last 6 months of the conference because it was growing by leaps and bounds. And so my family. And
Yes.
we've got every one of us, it's a family of 4 adults, that are all under one roof in the house. And today we found out, with the exception of Eric, everybody is laid off. And so those are big things and
Mhm.
scary things to deal with when you are unfamiliar with what that next step is. And if
Right.
we can go in and create a map and create a playbook of what that needs to look like, then it dissipates the fear.
For sure. And I think that for those that are being laid off, Michelle, I know this is mom and pops, but it's also entrepreneurs here that are listening as well, that are doing business and their business is being affected. So
Well,
for,
and let's even add to that is my business. I mean, that California Women's Conference, that you would tell me, I mean, that was my baby. It is my baby. I
mm-hmm,
mean, that's something that, as entrepreneurs, I mean, we look at our businesses and the livelihood and the space that we're in. We're doing this because we want to give back. That's
right.
our means of giving back.
And I think as family members, moms, pops, kids in the household, the value that you have should never be underestimated. So meaning that if you're laid off right now for an and you're not even working, you're not even doing Zoom calls with your workforce, and it's something that you're just laid up, this is an opportunity for you to empower others, empower yourself and empower others, and teach people, teach your kids new things, teach yourself something new. Figure out what your passions are. What are those hobbies that you think were hobbies? How can you maybe make those into something that you can really do for future income for your
And I
family?
think and this is again, this is, the real share. It's real
Mhm.
conversation with real issues, with real people facing, a
Right.
crisis and how you handle this. Because my first response is, I don't want to spend any time thinking about a hobby when I'm worried about putting food on the table or
Mhm.
I'm worried about the light staying on. And so what information can you say? I mean, how do you carve out a day? How do you structure that
You
into
have
your day?
you totally do. It's a mindset, Michelle. I think people, like you said earlier, go into a fear mode. And when you're in fear, you can't think of anything else. So the mindset has to be really huge. And you're really good at this as well. Meditating, getting your mind ready for the day to bring in whatever it is that's going to come your way. Last night, we got another announcement from our governor that we are on lockdown. So this really means a big deal for a lot of people. We're having to stay put. So instead of being fearful about that, and yes, figuring out like today, I'm being proactive. You've got to be proactive. How are you going to get those bills paid? Call the people, the debt collectors that are calling you to, you need to pay. Be proactive. But if you're in a fear mode, you're not going to be able to do that. So my first thing is whatever it is for you, whether it be meditation, yoga, exercise, talking with people, know that you're not alone. And I think this platform here is perfect. We're not alone. We can share what our fears are, but let's work together to find solutions because there are solutions until we get through to the other end. And if there's people that are still really fearful because they may not have the support, of a family, there's people out there that are doing it on their own. They don't have to be on their own. There's a lot of resources and there's a lot of people that are wanting to help. So reaching out to your friends and to your people that you know and connecting like this online, I think is one of the number one things to do is to stay connected.
I was in a Uber about a month ago, and before any of this was really coming to fruition, and I got into the Uber. I was going from Boulder to Denver. It was an hour Uber, and the Uber driver, 23 years old, and he goes, "You're the only person that I've told that I have cancer outside of my mom." And I was telling him what I was up to and with the real share and how it has been just giving me peace of being able to connect the dots and to be proactive in bringing individuals together, because when we do talk about what we're feeling and when we do talk about the issue and when we do start putting the pieces together, we're able to create an environment that is safe.
Mhm.
It's when we have this environment that's so unknown that we don't know what those next steps are. And we ended up I got to Denver and he got out of the car and we hugged. He actually posted back onto my Facebook, and I just thought it was it was actually my favorite ride
Mhm.
ever, in a car. And he just said, "Thanks for doing what you're doing." And I told him, I said, "Thank you for sharing, what you shared, because so many of us
Yeah.
think that we have to go at this alone. So
Yeah.
many of us think that, we come across as weak, or or nobody wants to hear about that, or nobody wants to be a part of that, or they're going through, this is my favorite, is they're going through their own issues. And what I found is that as humans, we are happiest when we are of service. We are happiest when we are being supportive and getting out of our own way to help others. And
Mhm.
there's a couple folks, my friend Lisa Varga, she mentioned earlier, and she was sending text messages over saying, "How are you doing? How are you feeling?" and and I thought, "I'm doing great. How are you doing?" And we were sharing jokes, and we were sharing prayer, and really just coming together. What do you
Mhm.
need? What do I need? But I
Yeah.
always think about the folks that think that there is nobody to go to. And for me, the real share it's you always have somewhere to go.
Right.
It was really important for me, as you know, and you've been on every one of these calls. It was really important for me to have accessibility so that everybody could join the Zoom call.
Mhm.
And Connor went back and was figuring out, my producer and the team that we have is figuring out how can we set it up where we don't get cut off, which is two people, that we can open it up to not only 100 but to 1,000, and it looks
Right.
like we could even do it to 5,000. And that's what I think is so important, and what you represent is just there's a place for everyone.
There
And
is.
at no time, and I know people went to you and kept saying, because I kept coming to you going, "Rose, I got another really good speaker. They have something really important to share. They need to be on there, Rose." And you're like, "Okay, who's going to tell Michelle that she can't bring on any more of these speakers?"
Right. No,
And
it
you
was a
said no.
great time. I mean, it really was a great time. I mean, it's when you look back at it now, it was one of those moments where we all learned together and,
Yeah.
and I think right now, one thing I want to talk about, Michelle, that you touched on, and I want to just focus on this is communication. You said, what do I do for people when I go into the employers and with talking with the employees? And it's all about communication. Once we get the group together and we're all together, we're speaking the same language. A lot of times, especially in manufacturing companies, there's different departments. They never get together to talk. So everyone's running around their company and doing their own thing. They're in their own silo. So what this does by bringing people together and knowledge, and now I'm going to be doing them on Zoom as well, is just let's talk about how we're going to make our work environment really safe. let's all get on the same page and have task force that are going to keep things clean, sterile, germ free, and we're all doing the same thing, so that as an employee, you know that everyone's doing the same thing and you feel safe because everyone now has been communicated the tools and the procedures and the protocols to follow. And that's leadership. That's leadership in employers that, need to take that stand and be leaders. And we are leaders as well in connecting people, Michelle. We are leaders in letting people know different resources and things that are out there. You're teaching, all of your journey of where you went and communicating that. So that's really what I am trying to do really well, is to be knowledgeable, know the facts. Let's get the myths out of it. Let's just talk about the facts. Let's get the fear out of the workplace. Let's get the fear out of the home, and let's be productive. So right now, being at home, wow, it's an opportunity to be productive. It really is. Productive with your kids, cleaning your house, as simple as that, but just being productive together and communicating. Oh my God, what a great time to be able to communicate with one another,
Yeah.
at home. I think when you're given lemons, you make lemonade. When you're given a pandemic, you bring in love, and you bring in compassion, and you bring in understanding, and you work. And I believe that we are going through this for all of us, all around the world, but we're all going to be better in the long run
And
because of
I
all
I
that
believe
we
that
did.
as well. And it's going to be, we'll be able to look back at this and say, you know what, how do we show up for one another? And there's such great examples. I mean, I'm seeing so many of these posts. Kim Ressler, who had sent out a post in explanation, people were asking that we're out of the state, what's happening with California. And she says, yes, we are home. We are doing, this together, but these are the things that we're doing.
Right.
And I look at, Shannon McKay, our director, of marketing, and the CEO of Roadside, and coming in. I mean, she sent this email out to her entire team, and just talked about what everybody is feeling, but put it into words, and having that perspective of a leader. And it could
Hmm.
be that they could, still have to make some changes in the staff, and
For
and
sure.
have some layoffs. But that doesn't mean, and people are reasonable. I mean, that doesn't mean that you don't go without having a conversation, that you don't go without bringing in this information. And I
Right.
I keep going back to that day when, you know, my my family, it was my mom, my dad, and my husband, and we were sitting at the doctor's office, and they came in and said, you've got, you've got cancer. And it was interesting because that Thursday before, my husband and I, so this was on Tuesday, my husband and I were sitting around the lake, and he was reading Jordan Peterson's book, Treat Yourself Like Somebody You're Responsible For, was chapter 2. And he said that to me. And I thought that was the strangest comment, because I think so often, as moms, as leaders, we're so quick to focus on others and
Hmm.
others' needs, that we forget to drop into, it's like, okay, what do we need?
Right.
And what kind of communication do we need to have? And when I started doing that, so that Tuesday morning, when the doctor came out, I sat back and I said, you know what, I'm going to show up for me. And when I show up for me, that's how then I can show up for others in love. That
So
if I
true.
start answering those questions and having communication with myself, and
Right.
saying, okay, what is it that I really know? What are the facts? Am I going to go ahead and adopt a policy of worry, and confusion? Or am I going to love myself? Am I going to treat myself like somebody I'm responsible for? Am I going to treat myself the way I would want my kids to be taken care of?
Right.
And that was a turning moment for me, because I made that decision that I was going to show up in love, not only for my family, but I was going to
But for
also show
yourself.
up for myself. And
And
I
I
think
think
that's super important.
it's so important, Michelle. And I really do think that was your turning point. I really do. I've known you, and you went inward, and you really got in touch with you and made you a priority for once. And I think that's beautiful. And that's something we all should do now, everyone. Don't you think? What is it that we all need as moms, as dads? What do we all individually need? Get get in tune with that. So use this downtime as an opportunity to figure what that is. For
And
me
be able
right now,
to
it's health.
share.
It's health.
Share is help, and share too is share what those feelings are. I mean,
Mhm.
Trish Ellis, who will be talking to us towards the latter part of the call, but we were on the call today. We were both crying to each other, and it's okay to be able to express your needs. And I think as parents, I think as owners of companies out there, it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to say, hey, I don't have all the answers,
Right.
but I know, and I know this, I know this, I know this, I know this, is that collectively we do. Individually, we might not have the answers,
Yep.
but I know collectively we absolutely do. And if we
We
can go
do.
ahead and join geniuses together,
Right.
pull us together and be able to share experiences and share what's working, that's how we're going to not only survive, but we're going to thrive through this process.
Well, Michelle, I did a one sheet resource. Do you think Connor can put that up? Because I think we're probably getting to our time. And I just want to show what I do to empower myself. I go and I research and I do a lot of things. I'm working on my health right now and I'm working on how I'm going to keep my cash flow going. So I have two great resources that if you want to come along with me and join me or want to know more about it, let me know because I'm going full force right now with those two things. And I'm also keeping on track of all of the updates on the virus and everything. So I have resources in there that I've links that I've done. So if Connor wants to put it up, I can go through each one maybe and then just because I know we're getting down to our time um, and just and then I also when he puts that there, Michelle, I have facts. So I have facts. If you want me to give actual facts, updates on where we are with the updates on the virus, I can share that as well, whatever you would like.
And I think you bring up some really good points. And let's talk about this as this comes up. But I think the mindset is that we are being selfish when we are thinking about our needs. And what the real share has been for me is so many things and just rolling this out. But what it has been to me is that when we share our needs, we are able to come together and have conversation that can really help and benefit each other. It's
Yeah.
so easy to pass it off and to not do that. And one of the things that I've learned is, I keep hearing, and we've said this through the California Women's Conference, is we've got to, take the oxygen mask and put it on ourselves first.
Mhm.
And what the real share for me is, and what it's been in working with you, Rose, and the information that you're providing, what the real share for me is, it's not an oxygen mask that we're putting on for ourselves first solely. It's an oxygen mask that literally drapes over your entire family and it comes
Mhm.
over your wellness team family.
Right.
And that's the best way that we can show up, I believe, for each other and loving on our kids and loving on each
Yeah.
other.
I love to learn, Michelle. I'm a learning leader of learning, however you want to say it. I love to learn. I empower myself every day. That's how I operate. And so teaching, I don't go into fear. I may be vulnerable. I may be having a day where I want to put the covers over me and be like, oh my God, I just don't want to think anymore about this. But that's all I need, that I get up and I'm proactive. And I think right now for me, I really want to help others just understand what's out there for resources for them. And also just to keep updated so you're not fearful of what's really going on. A lot of at times, if you don't know, you're running around in fear.
Yeah, and so Rose, Connor does not have that email. Can you forward it over to him and he can go ahead and post it?
Oh, I said put it to the Real Share, the resource document. I sent it to him an email on Real Share. Let's see, how could I
Okay,
get it?
so and we'll go ahead and
Yeah,
take when that pops up. And Connor, just let me know if you can locate it. And then if Rose, if you need her to go ahead and send it over to you again, what I love about this is it's very timely. You know, as long as we're not doing the cringe factor as as they don't tell me that now, but I used to
Yeah.
be told that as a mom. Uh, it's like, mom, do not have the cringe factor.
Oh
You
my
know, as long as
gosh.
you're doing recordings that don't have the cringe factor. So
But you
Connor's
know
going
what?
ahead and looking at it.
Okay, but you know what? I would really, if you don't mind, I really would like to share a little bit about our Californians. I want to give an overview of where we are with this on numbers, and then what we're doing here in California, because there's so much out there with the order that was made that people just don't really know exactly what's going on. So
Yeah. So here you
just
go,
want
Rose.
okay, so here we go. Let me just talk about first where we are with this coronavirus, the COVID-19. Globally, right now, as of this morning, globally, there's been 258,000 cases and 11,200 deaths. In the United States, there's been 16,500 cases and 215 deaths. In California, where I live, where you live, Michelle, and maybe a lot of the people that are on this call, there's been 1,006 cases with 19 deaths. And that basically comes from the public health safety department with those figures. And so that's where the overall is. And with our governor doing the total lockdown, which is not really a total lockdown because people are like, oh my God, what can I do? What can't I do? Um, what you can do and what's open is if you need to go out for essentials, you're able to go out of your house. And what are essentials? Gas stations, pharmacies, food, grocery stores, farmer markets, food banks, convenience stores, takeout and delivery restaurants, banks, and laundromats and services. What's closed right now are your dine-in restaurants. We've known that already. The bars and the nightclubs, entertainment venues, gyms and fitness studios, public events and gatherings, convention centers, and even here in Lake Tahoe, where I live, casinos are closed. So basically, they're just wanting everybody to stay put. Doesn't mean you can't go outside and run around, take a walk. They don't really want the kids to go to the parks and play together because that defeats why they're closing the schools. They're just wanting you to stay away and not let it spread. If we can stop the spread, then we can get back to our lives a lot faster. So a lot of times, like last night, I was making a lot of calls to people and they're just so mad because they have to stay put. And I try to say, use the opportunity to do something for yourself, this and your family. Be creative. And let's just work together as our state and just get this under control so that we can get back to our normal lives and but guess what's going to happen in these times this month that we're kind of like at home, we're going to find new things that we didn't know about ourselves or our kids or what we can and can't do. And we're going to see our resilience and our perseverance in a big way. So I just want to just say to everybody, be the leader of your family, be the leader of yourself, and be the leader of our state and our world. And just show up in a big way and do your part. And that's what I'm doing, Michelle. That's what you're doing. That's everyone that's on this call is doing. We're all doing our part. If we weren't doing our part, we wouldn't even be on this call. We'd be probably huddling under our covers or something. So we're standing up strong together so we can help in a bigger way.
And I love that, Rose. What we're going to do is we're also post that into the chat and we'll make sure that it goes out as well.
Yeah, and I'd love to talk to you. If anyone wants to call me, my link is in there. Make an appointment and let's just talk. And if you need any help in any way, you want to join me in my health journey that I'm going to be taking starting Monday, you want to learn some tools on how to maybe increase your cash flow for your business, you want to learn more about how to really get your staff kind of together and communicating and some trainings, call me, reach out to me. I'm here for you.
And Rose, so let's go back to, because I think it's going to be important for people to get off the call and have some actionable items that they can go ahead and focus on. And we talked about communication making the first and foremost. And I couldn't agree with you more. I think that's how we stay out of this flight and fright mentality.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so help me understand this. So you're doing a Zoom call, I predict, and
Yep.
you're talking to the company employees.
Right.
And I love that too. And I just want to give an applaud, because I know that you are, moving into double digits for individual company owners that have called out and said, hey, Rose, can you come in and help us with that?
Mhm.
I think you and I talked a couple days ago, and you said, yeah, there's a lot of interest, and that
Yes.
made me feel good. Made me feel really good.
It makes me feel good when we talk to people. I'm calling people, cold calling, Michelle, and I'm getting such great response. Usually you say when you cold call people that, no one wants to talk to you. We're all in this together. It's so nice to see and hear on the phone that the employers really do care and, want to do this. We're moving some of these in trainings for April now, because some of the ones that were here for March, we obviously can't do that. But I'm suggesting now let's get the Zoom thing. So I'm putting together the presentation also on Zoom. It's not as effective. And of course, they don't see my fun little personality in person and being able to do all the things I do in person, but I'm still doing the training and knowledge and giving the facts and finding some protocol for their company. Some are not there anymore. They're really streamed, but they still, what I'm hearing is they still want the training, because it's good to know how to stay proactive and how to have your safe work environment. I at one point had 100 compliances, OSHA compliance, and communication, and how to keep a team together and keeping the morale up. And now more than ever, the morale needs to stay up. And if they work together as a team, then they're going to be a lot stronger in the long run. So it's the takeaways. Basically, what I do is I actually work with the employer, and like with one employer right now, we're coming up with a task calendar of what everybody and who's on their team, and how they could, the ones that are not um, older, but they're in the younger range, because you don't want to really incorporate employees that are maybe at higher risk, or they have something. So you don't want to, you want to keep them as far away from any kind of harm. So working with the teams that they have in place, and working with those people that can actually go around, that's their day, 2 days is to wipe everything down, wipe all the doorknobs, wipe off all the counters, in between their normal um, people that come in like every night to do their cleaning. This is just basically, every couple of hours, wiping things down and just being proactive like that in their space and then within the company. So coming up with a little schedule for their employees, that's one of the things I provide. The other thing we talk about is meetings that they do have, meetings that they have within each other. Like if they're out of their workspace and they have to get together to meet together, what does that look like? And how, the safety precautions, and having all the sanitation products, having all the tissue available, having all of the supplies that they need, and how, if something were to happen, if someone does become sick at work, what happens? What's the protocol for, where does that person go? Do you have a space where that person will go to before they, and all of the different protocols of what they will do. So it's just a proactive training of what to do if something were to happen, and how to keep things flowing every day. And once everybody knows that what they're doing, everyone's safe. Like if I was working in a company, and I walked in and I'm seeing my coworkers sneezing over everything and not covering their mouth, or sneezing into a tissue, I would be like, whoa, this is not safe. So once all your employees know, there's no excuse. If you have a cough, you're coughing into a tissue, you're sneezing into a tissue, you're washing your hands, everyone's on the same page. It becomes safe. You feel good being around your coworkers, because everyone's, taking their part and keeping things clean and sanitized.
And let's talk about at home. What are some things that we can do, because so many people now are working from home?
Mm-hmm.
How does that correlate into really creating this healing home that we've been talking about?
Yeah. Well, again, if you're not out in public, I think if you do a full on disinfection of your home, and you're not going out in the public, or when you do go out in the public to the grocery store or whatever, because we all have to go get groceries, or one person in your family has to go out and get groceries, that person needs to know when they come back into that disinfected house that they need to like wash their hands, they need to get cleaned up, before they touch anything else in the new house that's been disinfected. So once you disinfect, you should be okay, right? It's just what you get outside and bring into the home. You need to be
Beautiful.
cautious about.
So I'm excited. I want to open it up to some questions. I want to share with you, Rose. So I have been in my house. We've got my nutritionist on the phone and some really awesome just friends of mine that have been going through this last year with me. But I have been literally in my house for 8 days. I've gone outside. We live up on the lake, but my family has actually gone to the store. And I wanted to say, my kids, right when this happened, they said, you know what? Our grandparents and our mom has a compromised immune system.
Yeah.
And, so I want to give just a thank you to all the family members that, again, it's not ideal, the situation, but we're making the most of it.
Yeah.
And I love them for that. I absolutely love them. So with that, let's
Yeah.
go ahead and open it up. Connor, if you can go ahead and open it up to some questions, and I'm going to actually start doing my unmuting, because I believe, Connor, you gave me access as well. And so I want to open it up. So any questions for Rose? And then I'd love to hear from you all if you have a great share in any piece of advice, some knowledge that you could share with us, anything that you've gone through, that you think, you know what, today is a really great day to be able to share that information.
I have something, Michelle. Can you hear me?
I can. Hey, love.
Hi. Well, because I work in a medical clinic, obviously it's a day-by-day situation and how we're trying to create a safe environment for our employees and for our patients that are coming in. A lot of screening, and when patients ask me how I am, the first thing that comes out of my mouth is, I'm healthy. And that immediately gives everybody a sense of, oh, good, comfort, right?
Yeah.
At the same time, in my own home and situation, of course, because I'm exposed to a variety of people all day long, I come home. And so what is my responsibility to keep myself healthy and well for my family, because they're locked down. My husband, he works in an environment where just one person, in his studio all day long. My daughter's cooking and doing her thing and still providing wonderful, healthy meals for our cancer patients. But so, my daughter and I, we decided, okay, well, let's not really get together because, you're cooking and you have a delicate environment and I'm with patients. So let's just kind of, be responsible about this. We can FaceTime each other. But my sister's son has been in rehab. And so tomorrow we were planning on doing this beautiful dinner. And we're making enchiladas, all this great food. And I'm doing all the, cupcakes in the 9 yards. So, I want to go for a variety of reasons, not just to see him, but to be in this unit of support. And then, of course, my daughter, she's like, gosh, Mom, that's kind of really irresponsible of you. You've been exposed to all these people. How do you know? And so I said to my sister, I said, okay, let him know that, this is a situation, and if he feels uncomfortable, I won't go, right? And so then my husband calls me and he's like, I know you're going to go and I know you're going to do your own thing, but I just don't feel that I'm very comfortable about it. I don't want you to get sick and I don't want to tell you I told you so. So then it was really hard for me because, at the same time, I'm a people pleaser to some degree. I didn't want to let my sister down. I love her so much as well. And I really had to make the hard decision to say, you know what, this is not about me. This is about making everybody else around me comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided to not go. And I said, okay, well, I'll still, provide all the little treats I was supposed to give my sister to take, out of love and, want to do that. But it really gave my daughter and my husband peace of mind to just really know I'm being responsible, not just for others, but for myself as well and them. So that was something that normally I would have just gone despite, because I said, oh, I'm healthy and we're all young and, well, not so young myself,
Yeah.
but so again,
Okay.
it's really taken into consideration that you have to think about other people and don't disregard the way they feel and what they're trying to do. And, some people might call it a little bit of paranoia, but that's okay. Everybody has a right to feel. And then you just kind of take them out of that as much as you can. And it's much spiritual advice I can give everyone to, my daughter says, blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, don't worry. God has our back. We're here on this planet. We're meant to be here. We still have a lot to share. So I don't think we're going anywhere soon. Then she'll write back, yeah, you're right, Mom, you're right. Thank you for that. So anytime you have an opportunity to share some grace with someone, that's super important. But at the same time, to try to create a zone of comfort for everyone else.
That's right.
Well, and I love that comment. So a couple things, Liliana. So two things. One is if you make enchiladas, can I can I have Eric go by your house since you are my nutritionist? He could do a drive-by and just pick it up. You could leave it outside on your front porch.
Curb
Yeah,
pickup.
exactly. Well,
And-
you know, we'd have to turn those into keto enchiladas because those tortillas are just not going to work good for you on your keto diet.
Oh.
But I promise, when you come over, I will or when we get past all this, I will totally make you some keto enchiladas. I already got the fudgesicles set up for you to go. So
I know. I can't wait. Those fudgicles look amazing. And so, in fact, you'll be on the show next Friday.
yeah,
And I want to share those fudgicle recipes and all that. And also I want to give a shout out to Karen DePaulins, who's been a true advocate for so many, including the projects. And then also this recent project, she's been making me amazing meals and, drops them over. And we haven't done that recently because we're just getting organized, but I want to say thank you, Karen DePaulins. And then the last thing I want to say to you, Liliana, is don't be saying, oh, I'm getting old, or for others. Like literally, like you this is the real share show. And so everything is about integrity, and you, my dear, are far from getting old. I'd also like to share with you guys. So Trish and I had an amazing conversation today where we both were reconnected after a very, very, very long time of not being connected. And I really appreciated the conversation for several reasons. One of which, I got up this morning and I hadn't had a good cry, since I have been in the house for the last 8 days. And I just did. I let it out. It was like my eyelashes. In fact, when you guys will laugh, but for however long I can keep them on, Rose, when we sat down to start recording, Rose goes, "Your eyelashes, the left side of your face, they were all like stuck together." So, you have good friends when they point out, like, do not go on camera with your
No, I've always had your back there, Michelle. Always.
Always. And so, Trish, I want to just kind of put you on the spot a little bit, partly because I know that you're not one to be ever on the spot, and just say thank you. As our leaders, and we all are leaders on this call, and this is about, again, joining geniuses through shared experiences. But we all need a pick-me-up. We all need, from time to time, just to be vulnerable and just to cry. And I want to share with the team what you told me this morning.
Yeah, I think that our conversation went in a lot of different directions, but really the message that I wanted to highlight is this is happening for us. And if you look at any of the challenges we've all faced in our lives, if you look at really what gets cleared and healed in the process of transition, change, we always come out better for the adversities that we face. And I think the biggest obstacle that we butt up against is it doesn't feel good in the process. And there's been so much judgment around feelings that, say, for example, if you see someone crying, the first thing people say is, "What's wrong?" Right? The emphasis on the word wrong, that it's wrong to express ourselves. And this global situation is like a big magnet that is going to draw from the collective whatever is tucked deep inside of us. And, the message that I think is so imperative for all of us to understand is that our vulnerability is, first of all, what makes us human. And that, we all have strength. We're all powerful. But we're also vulnerable, each and every one of us. There's two sides to the coin. So it's really about embracing whatever is coming up for us. And, it's the analogy I always give is just, it's picture a pot of boiling water, lift the lid off, right? Let the steam out, let your emotions.
Good.
let your emotions come out, but turn the burner off. And the burner is your mind. So it's very easy that once we get into those fear cycles is to keep, spinning into more and more fear. So that's why it's important to go into your body, feel the emotion without trying to solve it. Because that's a big part of, we've all had experiences where we haven't felt comfortable with feeling the feelings that we're feeling. And what happens is it gets trapped in our body. And then the mind creates some very creative ways to avoid us feeling. And it's inevitable. We can't get through this without feeling. And, just listening to just the conversation that's been going on, there's a magnitude of feelings, right? Everything from fear to disappointment of not being there for family. Like I'm sure there's been weddings planned. All of these events are getting canceled, graduations. I mean, my dad died on Monday and we can't even have a funeral to send him off. So there's, everybody's life is on hold and we're being forced to redirect and to do things in a new way. And I don't think we've ever had a situation that's been so globally, we've never had the entire, at least as long as history's been around, the situation that's happening is so profound and it's so beautiful because we are in this together. We've all heard the saying, we're all one. Well, this is the universe showing us we are all one. And we're being forced to go deep into our hearts, to manage our fear, manage our minds. And I wholeheartedly believe it's a beautiful reset button on humanity. And we're going to come out a lot better for this. And, broadcasts like this are so powerful because instead of sitting at home and moping and people going into fear, we're communicating, we're reaching out to one another. And I'm astounded by the beauty of humanity and how everybody is banding together. Coaches are, stepping up, anybody. And I just want to highlight too, you don't have to be a professional coach or therapist to lend a helping hand. We all have wisdom in us.
True. That's true.
Absolutely. Well shared. And I want to say thank you, Rose Tafoya, for always showing up. How you do you. This
is my greeting. This is what I do now.
It's an awesome ride. We'll have a chance to go ahead and do Love Fest 2020 update, which is happening on May 2nd. And again, thank you everyone for being on the call. And I absolutely love this and know, and this is what makes me feel so safe is that, I know individually we can't do this, but collectively we are going to rock this thing and we are going to come out, thriving. So have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. I look forward to seeing and hearing from all of you on Monday, 4 p.m. Talk to you then.
See ya.
Good
Thanks,
night, everybody.
Michelle. Good
Take
night.
care.
Good night and be well.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.
See you later. Bye.